If it's true that dangerous chemicals lurk in the unlikeliest places, wouldn't the government have stepped in to protect us?
The government has not been carrying out its duty to protect the American people, and especially our children, from these poisons being put into the environment by industry.
And few places bear the scars of abandonment like Pittsfield, Massachusetts.
Government doesn't care one bit about us. There's no profit line in this. We're a pea on an 8-lane highway from outer space and they can't see us. They don't care about us. You know, they're more worried about big corporations.
Bill Kowalczyk put in 29 years at the local General Electric plant. The company, once the economic lifeblood of this old town, has long since closed its plant and left Pittsfield. Bill Kowalczyk says it's also left its mark on him.
Okay, we have here, which is associated with PCB poisoning, is chloractine. It's actually a form of skin cancer from PCBs.
For decades, GE buried PCBs, now a known carcinogen, all over the city of Pittsfield. Tim Gray of the Housatonic River Initiative takes us to a giant man-made hill loaded with toxic waste, right behind the Allendale Elementary School.
There are schools all across the Commonwealth right now that have programs in place to clean all the toxins out of their school and use greener products. And here we have a school that's right in the middle of PCBville.
It's all part of a consent decree GE signed with the Environmental Protection Agency. The company pledged $150 million to clean up its plant site and 2 miles of the Housatonic River.
But once you go below those 2 miles, we have the worst toxic river for the next 10 miles, one of the worst in the United States.
Critics liken the cleanup to a Band-Aid on a deep wound. 2 feet of fill on top of soil saturated with toxins.
Part of the problem, though, too, is that Congress has not passed enough hard laws to give the EPA even the muscle that they need to go after a big giant like General Electric.
In Bill Kowalczyk's backyard, the new topsoil isn't nearly enough to bury the past.
Oh, yeah, it's coming to the top of the ground by itself.
Potentially contaminated transformer parts keep emerging from the soil.
Nobody's allowed, my daughter, my great-granddaughter, not allowed out in the backyard. I do almost all the work in the backyard by myself. I already figured that I'm on the death list already.
But Robert Barretts, who practices occupational medicine in Braintree, wonders where all the sick people are, if indeed chemicals are such a threat.
On the other side of this wall, there are exams going on right now, and we do this day after day after day. We don't see that that's happening, even with the workers who do the environmental cleanups.
But clusters of illness can be hard to miss in the inner cities.
It troubles me because the rate is growing each day.
Asthma is at epidemic levels in Boston. Mary White has it, so do her 2 sons, Billy Joe and Verdo. At one point, visits to the emergency room were, for the Whites, as common as going to the supermarket, except for the terror.
It's the scariest feeling in the world. At the beginning, my children were brought to the medical center approximately 3 to 4 times a week.
Older buildings and indoor allergens are clearly factors in asthma, but they can hardly explain the 4-fold increase in urban childhood asthma over the last couple of decades.
It's, again, a multiple factor, multiple cause condition, and some of those multiple causes include environmental air pollutants.
Today, Mary White's boys are doing better, and Mary has become active with the Urban Asthma Coalition, sharing her experience and know-how with others in her Dorchester community.
There's not a day that I go out I don't meet someone who suffers from asthma, and that really depresses me.
Mary White recently helped conduct an asthma survey of her neighborhood in Dorchester along with Tufts University. One of the most surprising findings of the report was that blacks who are born in other countries, well, I should reverse this, blacks born in America are 3 times as likely to have asthma as blacks born abroad. And that perhaps indicates the importance of early childhood exposure.
It's unbelievable. Father and chemist John Warner leading the way to safe chemicals when Chronicle continues.
Concern over the health effects of synthetic chemicals has given rise to a whole new field, green chemistry.
Green chemistry is the science of making safe materials, trying to figure out what makes a material hazardous and how to take it out of the product.
Formerly a chemist at Polaroid, John Warner has over 100 patents, books, and articles to his name. He might never have given thought to green chemistry had personal tragedy not struck.
I lost a 2-year-old son to a birth defect called biliary atresia. And that was something of a life-changing experience, because I would ask myself, what if some molecule I worked with, what if some material that maybe I got an award for, somehow caused my son's birth defect, somehow caused his ultimate death?
Warner went on to found the country's first PhD program in green chemistry at UMass Lowell. Now he's developing things like biodegradable plastics at his own company, the Warner Babcock Institute for Green Chemistry.
My premise is yes, for every application, we will one day find a safe alternative.
Science can be very helpful if you do it thoughtfully. Technology can be wise. I think that we just have to wake up and realize that we've been on a spree and on a binge of trusting progress and techniques in an uncritical way.
Martha Herbert thinks the synthetic chemical question is likely to be, like the chemicals themselves, around for a good long while.
Look how long it took to be rigorous about tobacco. Look how much pushback there was. Do you think that people are going to roll over and play dead?
But Philip Shabakoff doesn't think we can afford the luxury of debate.
I started writing about global warming in the Times in the 1970s, and it took over 30 years for the public to recognize what a threat it is. And we can't wait that long to deal with the toxification of the environment, and our children are the proof. These statistics about childhood illness show how dangerous. The kids are our canaries in the coal mine.
John Warner says that more young chemists need to be taught toxicology. What makes a cell hazardous?
That's Chronicle for tonight. I'm Anthony Everett.
And I'm Mary Richardson. Have a great weekend.
Good night.